Claude Code is hiding something from you. If you've ever been in the middle of a coding session and hit the 5-hour quota limit, or you've upgraded to the $100 or $200 max plan, but wondered if you saved money by using the API usage-based pricing instead, then turns out Anthropic has all the information on your token usage and cost usage that would help you answer that question, but it hides it from you rather than shows it to you. Some developers are so frustrated with the 5-hour reset window that they're actually setting their alarm at 5:30 in the morning, waking up, sending Claude a quick message to start the reset window so it resets earlier in their workday. So Anthropic has solved one of the hardest problems in software engineering, getting programmers out of bed before 8 a.m. In this video, I'm going to talk about where Anthropic hides that information right on your computer. I'm going to talk about an amazing open source tool that exposes it in a very useful way, and how you can use that information to decide whether you get more value out of the monthly plans or switching to the API usage-based pricing of Claude Code. The main tool we're going to cover in this video is called Claude Code Usage Monitor, which you can find on GitHub. It's a very valuable tool. I'll show you some pro tips on how to use it to understand your token and cost usage. The cost usage is very important because if you use Claude Code itself, it has a /cost command, but that only works if you're using the API directly. If you're on a monthly plan, it won't tell you, even though it could tell you what your API cost would be, so you could evaluate whether that would be cheaper than your monthly plan. I'm not going to go over how to install the Claude usage command too much. It's clearly documented on the GitHub README. You can install UV tool if you don't have it already, and then use UV to install the tool. But I do want to cover some very useful flags that I missed at first. The first flag is that if you're on a monthly plan, you want to tell it with a -- plan flag. You can tell it Pro if you're on the $20 a month plan, Max 5 if you're on the $100 a month, or Max 20 if you're on the $200 a month. If you don't provide this, then it estimates what plan you were based on looking at your recent sessions and assuming that you hit a quota limit. So that's the best estimate for your total quota. But if you haven't recently hit a quota limit, its estimates are going to be very wrong. And it's best just to tell it, because then it can tell you the exact percentage you used. The next important thing to understand is the -- view flag, which gives you 3 different views: your session view, your daily view, or your monthly view. Now, the session view is the default and the best for understanding where you are in your 5-hour reset limit. Now, let's take a quick look at this critical session view. As you can see at the top, we have cost usage. Now, that's only your cost if you're using an API key. If you're on a monthly plan, it's just what your cost would be, which is very useful to know if you're considering using the API plan instead. But if you're on a monthly plan, you are paying that fixed monthly price. But the next 2 fields are very important. Token usage is how much tokens you have left in the current window. And you can see if a certain MCP tool, for example, is using it more than you expected. And then similarly, message usage is how many messages you're sending. That's roughly equivalent to how many prompts you type, although sometimes Claude in the background will use a few more messages. And you have both a token and a message quota. So if either hits, you're going to hit that 5-hour quota limit, not be able to use Claude Code until it resets. And this usage tool will also tell you when that reset occurs, how many hours you have left, and what the exact time that it resets at is. Now, the next key view is this monthly view, which you can again get by providing -- view monthly to the CLI when you start it. This will show you all the tokens you used this month. It'll also show you the cost. If you're using the API, that is the cost. If you're on a monthly plan, it's what the cost would be if you were instead on the API plan. You can see that's very valuable information, because so far this month, I've spent what would be $60 on the API, but I'm on the $100 a month plan. So I would have saved $40 if I use the API instead, assuming I don't do any more Claude coding this month. Now, obviously, this tool is very useful. You can use it to save money by figuring out whether API usage-based pricing or a monthly plan will be cheaper for your use cases. You can also use it to estimate where you are in your 5-hour quota and try to avoid filling it too fast and getting stuck, unable to do more work. But what's just as interesting is how it works, which turns out to be very simple. I initially thought maybe it was doing something very complicated, capturing network traffic and trying to analyze it with a complex reverse engineering algorithm to estimate cost. But actually, the cost is written by Claude Code itself right in your local Claude directory, the same place where you configure settings. And the settings are publicly documented. But right next to the settings file is a directory called projects. And every time you create a new Claude code session, you create a new file in that projects directory. And within that directory, each of those files contains a JSON-L format, which is just a sequence of JSON messages separated by new line. And each of those JSON objects represents a message that Claude Code is sending to the backend Claude model, and included in it is an input token count and an output token count. And from those token usages, you can just multiply by the current pricing of dollar per token that the model you're using costs and get an exact cost estimate of each message that you're sending to Claude. The takeaway that I'm trying to communicate is that your token usage and cost usage is sitting right on your computer, and Claude Code is just choosing not to provide it for you, even though it's relatively trivial to go from the token messages that it's already storing to the cost you're paying. And if you're on a monthly plan, it could still easily tell you, as this open source tool does, how much your monthly pricing would be if you use the API. If I wanted to give Anthropic a charitable interpretation, it would be they're trying to simplify their UX. You're paying for the monthly plan, the exact token usage and cost does not matter, so we're not going to show it to you. But it's hard for me not to speculate that Anthropic is hiding this information for a reason. It's right there on the computer, and it could help you make more cost-effective purchasing decisions, but Anthropic may not want that. They may be happy that users paying for a $100 a month plan who are only spending $6 worth of usage are subsidizing the power users. And another hint that's true is Anthropic has already complained about the power users when they said it was the top 5% of users that forced them to introduce weekly caps. But ultimately, I am purely speculating on Anthropic's motivations. I have no affiliation, so I'm not sure. And it's not super important. What is important is that you know this data exists, so you can make more informed decision on your token usage and try to avoid hitting the 5-hour limit, and that you can understand how many tokens you're using so you can decide if the API usage-based pricing or the monthly subscription makes more sense for your usage cases. Thanks for watching this video. There's a written version on my newsletter linked in the description. I also appreciate any likes or subscribes on YouTube, and I also appreciate any feedback. I am very open to constructive criticism. Thanks.